What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka Toe Tag and Tambo, back for the Run Pure Sports Strokes Gain show. We got it here this week for the SONY Open. Had a pretty good week here last week. It was myself. We had Snyder. He's here with me again, and Uncle T. No Uncle T this week. He's got a few obligations this month, but I told him it's all good. Get him out of the way now. We'll be back here every Tuesday, and once he's done with them, he'll probably still join us the next couple of weeks, to be honest. But if he doesn't, we'll still be here, myself and Snyder Goat, ready to go through the plays. I thought last week was pretty solid. I know I had a few good scores there. We had some good takes. Power and Homa, the guys down low, shrugging off guys like EVR in the chat with all the weak Twitter takes that people were bringing in. But Snyder, my man, what's going on this week, buddy? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. It's always good when Morikawa beats Bryson in an event because that means the knee houses are shipping me some giblets. So that's always a good way to end the week. Morikawa shot 11 under that final day, so that was nice. Didn't have like a great week. It was all right. I mean, nothing to write home to mom about, but it was pretty good week. It's just good to get that appetizer out of the way. Now let's just jump into this full field event. We've got some interesting guys here looking to get into this with you.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Again, staying in Hawaii, but a much different size and field. It's not all winners like we had last time. And yeah, Bryson, a little bit of a sore wrist, he said now. He kind of withdrew out of this one, took his way back home. Morikawa definitely dusted him. JT and Morikawa just showing what we thought. Remember, again, guys writing off JT after the first day. These guys are too good. The course was set up too well. The scoring went low for a reason. Is what it is. I know, like all the takes, I talked about this on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast about, Daniel Berger shot 66 or whatever it was, 67 every day and didn't even do this. Well, it don't matter. Like I put up 850 DraftKings points and it didn't win because someone had 920. Like that's the conditions. We all play in the same thing. The scores were out there. You had to go get them. That's what Rahm did. And obviously that's what Cam Smith did, who we'll talk about in a second, the winner of last week. But Rahm sort of chasing him down. And what a tournament for Cam Smith, holding him off. It's not a recap show by any means, but damn, that was pretty impressive down the stretch. That final shot from 40 yards out or whatever, that he had to put it right up there, 8 to 10 feet, made that putt after Rahm, did his thing, put it to like a foot. So pretty good event, but let's talk about this week. Obviously, a lot of course history here. We'll get to Charles Howell later on. 20 for 20 made cuts, just an absolute print fest. Guys know this course. Guys know what it's all about. But why don't you, Snyder, tell everyone a little bit about what this course is all about and then what we can expect to see this week?
Yeah, we're here at Wild Lake Country Club. It's going to measure right around 7,000 feet, give or take 7,000 yards, give or take a few yards there. It's going to be a par 70 this week, a little different than that par 73 we had this last week. There's going to be a lot of rain here. They've had a lot of rain over the past month here as well, like we saw last week. I mean, this course even flooded on 2 separate occasions, they said. So they're going to see some more wet conditions. It's going to be a super easy soft playing conditions. I mean, they're going to tear this place up again. We should see many birdies again this week. I'm not sure if they'll get as many as they did last week because the field's not as strong. So I think we'll still see the winning score somewhere in that 20 to 25 range. So I feel pretty confident about that. 8 of the last 10 champions have played at Kapalua the week before this event. The tree line fairways here are going to put an emphasis on finding the fairway off the tee. So that's going to be pretty crucial for these guys. Golfers need to excel on long iron play and have a good wedge game to excel here this weekend. You got to be able to hit your wedge as well. It's going to be like that 125 to 175, I think, where a lot of the shots are going to be coming in. So you got to excel there if you want to get in range for some of these birdies. You're going to need to get hot with the flat stick, though, too. I mean, if you're going to score 20, 25 under, you're going to have to make a lot of birdie putts. So the flat stick needs to be hot for these guys. Some of the key stats I'll be looking at this week: strokes gained approach, birdies are better percentage, fairways gained, and strokes gained putting with an emphasis on Bermuda.
Yeah, I like all those stats. I like that you brought up the weather factor too, because it seemed like it was nothing just even as of yesterday when all the first look articles and things like that were coming out. But it's been mentioned already, as you just said. But the grounds are a little bit wetter than they maybe expected. The rain came in, so looking at things where normally these fairways roll out fast and firm, we're not going to see as much of that. So I think there is more of an emphasis now, but it was not a big deal in the sense that we already were going to target guys that could at least hit the fairway. Everyone was talking about how driving accuracy hasn't been as important for like Kevin Na and some of the winners in the past, but everybody knows the more you're in the fairway, the more often. It's not often that you're in there, 60% of the time is great, but when you are in there, it's definitely a lot easier around here. And then the greens do get a bit easier. That's what everyone's talked about. And you'll hear it later when we talk about a guy like Cory Connors, who's putted well here while putting it well pretty much nowhere else. He got better, but not as good as what you would want out of a guy with irons that strong. And, almost like a mini JT in that sense, or Morikawa. But if he gets hot, can get there. But the greens here, much easier to read, not as much undulation as what we saw last week and things like that. So I think that's important to factor in as well. But let's hop right into it, man. Any strategy conversation off the top? Again, we're back to a cut. We're back to 6 out of 6 being important. Is any of that going to be factored in? Because I think when we talk a little bit about some of these guys, at least there's some worry there for me, not of them making the cut, but of, do they have enough firepower after they make the cut? Do you just want to run for 6 out of 6s and then hope that they get lucky over the weekend? How do you go about building in these cut events like we're back to?
Yeah, last year they kind of switched to that away from that T72 and ties. They cut it down to T65 and ties, and it actually made quite a big of a difference. I mean, with the 6 of 6 numbers we were seeing, there was many tournaments we were seeing like 5 to 7% of lineups getting 6 of 6 through the cut. So I kind of eased away from the ownerships. Like I didn't even look at those. I was just mainly trying to get the guys I liked and felt most comfortable with getting 6 of 6, getting through the weekend, and then trying to just have a chance on come down Sunday, because that's all you're really wanting for in these golf contests. You just want to have a sweat come Sunday. So I was mainly not actively trying to play the most popular guys, but if the guys I liked were going to be popular, I mean, it is what it is. And I just played those guys through. Kind of looking like that this week a little. I mean, a couple of the guys I like this week are going to see some ownership, so I'm definitely not going to get off of them just because of the ownership. Or I'll just kind of maybe leave some money on the table or look to get different in a few other areas, but definitely don't want to be fading any of the guys I really like just because they're going to be popular. That seemed to work for me last year pretty well, and so I'm just going to keep riding that this year. If I just don't see a point in fading like one of my favorite guys if he's going to be 25% owned, because what are the chances are that 25% owned gets through the cut? I mean, he could be 25% owned, and if we have like a 5 or 6% 6 of 6 rate, I mean that kind of differentiate yourself enough, I think, in that sense. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the last part you said, I thought you were going to go a different route with it, but it fits what I was thinking for the narrative. You said like the 5 to 10. We'll probably have, I agree with you, a 5 to 10%, somewhere in that range, 6 out of 6 rate. But I was going to say, you and I know, knowing this field, and that's the reason to stick around here. When we get down to the bottom, we're going to like some of these guys that are going to show up in the 5 to 6% rate. So even if you are playing some of these quote unquote chalkier guys up at the top, I think one, we like to eat the chalk a little bit more. It's sort of that 9K and above range, because they're that for a reason. We have more sample size on them. We know their statistics. It's hard to find a path where they don't at least make you the cut. Yes, you might have to have some luck over the weekend of them showing up and going low and not completely blowing this thing for you, but at least they get through for you. It's more risk down at the bottom, and that's where we'll want to avoid chalk more than not. And you and I will definitely have some guys, Chad Raymie down there, our boy from last year. We got some of these guys in the field that you and I will like. I'm sure Alex Smalley, just to name a couple names I'm thinking of off the top that you and I are usually going after. So there'll be that situation. Before we get into the tiers, though, I want to talk about the underdog special real quick. Playoff best ball is here. Promo code RUNPURE. Go ahead and use it. RUNPURE, RUNPURE. Get $100 deposit match bonus. Head on over to Underdog. Use that. Get signed up. Snyder, I know you, producer Simon, the boys were killing the regular season best ball. Had a little bit of bad luck run your way down the stretch, but pretty good season overall. What are your thoughts on the best ball going on over there right now?
Yeah, we did one show already, and we've got another one planned for tomorrow. So we're going to knock out probably this one and another one before the playoffs start. So, yeah, I mean, there's not that much of the contest is filled yet. So, I mean, there's plenty of time to get in. We're going to be diving down and breaking all these play-up matches down and trying to find the best routes to attack these teams and such, which teams you want and which players to avoid. And we're going to break all that down tomorrow more and deeper, and we'll get into that. And I think we might even get some written content up, like some rankings or something I was looking at getting into. But yeah, it was super fun this year. Looking forward to this playoff best ball too. I think we're going to crush it again.
Yeah, it's good, like you said. And if you can get over there and get signed up and get the bonus, at least you can hop in now. There's a lot of games coming up this weekend over at Run Pure. We'll have all the content for you guys, even beyond that. So set up for that. We'll have our cores, our playbooks, everything out for NFL for the weekend as well. I know Big T, myself, JSU are going to do a Saturday little 2-gamer show. Get ready for the weekend, and then going to be a full normal slate. The Morning Wood on Sunday, the Monday Night Football Showdown show with Chop and with Big T. So it's going to be good. Get on over to Run Pure Sports. Sign up. If you're here now, hit the like button for us. Help us out. Hit the subscription button down in the bottom right corner, big red button. Can't miss it. It really helps us out. You can turn notifications off if you want, but if you got them on, you won't miss any of the shows, all sports, all the content here. Snyder, let's hop right into it. We'll go through the tiers. I'm going to start up top. Everyone wants to talk about the plays in this range. We've got last week's winner, Cam Smith, priced all the way up to 11.2K, right down to Mark Leishman at 10K. Where are you going here in this range?
Yeah, I mean, Cam Smith did last week was pretty remarkable, holding off Rom like that, but I don't think I'm going to get to him this week. 11-2 is a little steep. He's coming off that win. Just think that's a good spot for me to get off. I'm sure he'll get some ownership, as everybody saw what he did last week, made all those birdies. Hideki Matsuyama, he's right there at 10-8. I just don't feel like he has the short game to kind of compete at one of these birdie fests like we're going to see this week. So I'll probably be off of him. He struggled off the tee last week, even though we had very wide fairways. He lost 1.3 strokes off the tee, lost 2 strokes putting. He did hit his irons pretty well, but I just don't think I'm going to be able to play him. I typically don't play Hideki anytime he breaches that 10K range, so I think he's going to be an easy fade for me right there. But Webb, I definitely like Webb this week. Looks to be a great option here. $700 price savings off Cam Smith, which is nice. Course sits up great for him. He's got great course form here. He's finished inside the top 20 in his last 7 trips. He's got a couple fourth place finishes or better in his last 3. He did struggle some out of the gate last year, but I mean, he did finish the year strong. He was his last outing was in 8th place at the RSM. He did finish strong for us, like I said, down the stretch last year. As I think he was battling some injuries or something early in the summer, but I mean, I'm ready to look past that. I mean, this is just a great spot for him to. With a short par 70, I mean, this is bread and butter for Webb, so I'm definitely going to be on him. Sungjae Im, next guy I'm looking at. I'm not sure where he's going to land in my player pool or not yet. I mean, he's popping on these stat models pretty good. I think he's going to see some ownership. Picked up right where he left off in 2021. He had that 3rd place at the BMW, 1st at the Shriners, 9th at the CJ Cup, and he opened the year with an 8th place finish in that loaded TOC last week. So his course history here is all right. He's got a couple of finishes inside the top 21st. He did finish 56th here last year. Has putted well in 2 of his last 3 trips. I just prefer the guy right under him a little bit more. Mark Leishman, he's at 10K. He's priced up a little bit, but I think that's just fine. He ended the year strong with a couple of top 5s at the Fortnite and the Shriners. He's a guy I was targeting last week too, and now he heads to a familiar track where he's had great success. 12 of 12 made cuts here. 3 finishes inside the top 5, 7 top 20s. I mean, I like where he's at here. I like targeting these Aussies on these Hawaii tracks. I wasn't on Cam Smith as much last week, but we saw the Aussie Cam Smith win last week. I think this is Leishman's time. I was able to bet him early in the week before Bryson backed out, so I got him at pretty good odds at 20-1. I see he's down to 16-1 now. So I'm definitely going to be on Leishman and Webb are my top 2 guys in this range this week.
Okay. Yeah, I like the Leishman call. You mentioned it even last week. I don't know if it's just a Hawaii thing or what. It was obviously having guys like Ogilvy in that in the past. There was another Australian winner I'm forgetting at the moment, but Cam Smith himself and then someone even beyond that. But just thinking in general, last week it was Cam Smith, Leishman, Matt Jones, and Cam Davis. All these guys within the top 10 and then including the winner. So you can go back to the Aussies for sure. I like the Leishman call. Here's my thoughts up top. You got Leishman and Hideki, both at prices I don't want to pay for them ever. I feel like these prices are ridiculous, but if I was going to pay it for one, it might surprise you. I'm not going to go to the green jacket winner in Hideki Matsuyama, and I'm going to drop down to Leishman, the guy that played well last week, and just stick with it. It's a little bit more than I like, but realistically, if I saw him at 9,700, I'd be in. It's just that, getting your mindset off of, okay, he's not at 9,700, he is at 10K, but if he was at 9,700, your mind would probably say play him, and everything else lines up for him too. So I like him there. I like him right above him. I think, again, just going back to the guys from last week, looks like right now we're pushing 25 to 30% ownership on a guy like Webb Simpson. I love Webb at Webb courses. What worries me is a little bit about potential upside? And secondly, what was going on last year? How can we trust this guy's just better all of a sudden? Like his caddy Paul Tesori says, oh, we're all good. That was just a bump in the road. Didn't even make the tour championship. So it's like you got these situations here where now everyone's just going to jump back on board 25 to 30%. And the other thing, nobody likes to play a winner after they won the week before, but they really don't like to play. And again, some ownership sites out there right now show them as having more. Some show them having 10 to 12%. Some show 25. But Cam Smith at 11-2, that is ridiculous price for Cam Smith. And I probably will still play a little just because I think I'll probably play 10, 15%. And if he comes in at 10%, I'm at the field. If he comes in, over that, then I'm close to it. So I don't mind him just because I think in my mind right now, Snyder, more people will go away from it than will go on it. Just knowing the past history, how people play PGA DFS, they're like, first off, he's not going to win again. He has to win. The other common thing is he has to win for you at 11-2. But here's the other way it can happen. If you don't, everyone says it. People in the chat, Alex saying, struggling on who to pay up for. If Webb doesn't come through, we're not as comfortable with Matsuyama and Leishman. And what if Im doesn't come? Then it's not that he has to win. What if he comes top 10 and those other guys don't, and he still fits the winning lineup build? So I've played enough PGA DFS to know, take some chances there. So Smith, Im, and Leishman, but I definitely like the two at the bottom more, Im and Leishman. So start with that. Let's go down to this next range. We have last year's winner, Kevin Na, at the top, 9,900, going down all the way to Taylor Gooch at 9,100 if you want to go back to him. But it's a smaller 9K range. You got Na, Answer, Connors, English, and Gooch. Who are you on here?
Yeah, I really don't have too much conviction on any of these guys. I mean, not Kevin Na at 9.9. The price tag does seem a little elevated for him here. I mean, he did win the event last year. He has 4 top 5s going down the stretch 2021. I mean, he's just been playing good all the way through. Finished 13th last week. He struck the ball well, gaining 2.5 strokes on approach. He's been great around the green, too. He's gained in his last 9 events, averaging right around 2.6 strokes around the green over his last 20 events. The scrambling percentage here is slightly higher than tour average, it looks to be. I think he makes plenty of sense here. I just don't know if I'm going to get there. I think I'm just rather pay that extra $100 to get to Mark Leishman, who I have more confidence in. Abe Answer at 9.7. I think he's a little priced up too. I don't think he's got the game to really battle in these like huge birdie fests. I mean, I like to play him on these short courses. He's going to hit the fairway. He's going to hit greens. It just comes down to if he's got the flat stick rolling or not. He finished damn near DFL last week, losing over 9 strokes total. I mean, he was kind of a mess last week, lost across the board. I just don't think I'm going to get there this week because I do like Cory Connors this week. One of the best off the tee players, and he's an elite ball striker as well. The main thing that always seems to slow him down is that short game. I mean, the putter just continuously loses strokes there. But I mean, like you said, he found something here. He's gained 13.1 strokes total in his three stops here of putting. Finished 39th in his first trip, but he followed that up with a 3rd and a 12th in his last 2 stops here. So I definitely like Cory Connors here this week. 9.6 is a fair price tag, I think, for him. Taylor Gooch, 9.1. I think he's going to be pretty popular. I'm just not really sold on him. I think I'm going to find a guy or two a little bit lower than him that I like better. This was Gooch's 6th top 15 in his last 7 events last week. Shot 67 on the weekend. I mean, he's definitely rolling in with some good momentum. I mean, he's going to be pretty popular. I mean, the course history here isn't the greatest for him. He's won MC 63rd, MC 18th. I'd rather just play Connors above him for 500 more or dip down to a guy I'll get into a little bit later. So I'm mainly fading this range outside of Cory Connors.
Yeah, nobody worries me more than Cory Connors. And as a fellow Canadian, it's tough to say that. But look, he's a much better golfer than people thought he was. Everyone, oh, he's going to fall off. He's not going to continue this. This makes no sense. He can't keep it up. He did. And like you said, realistically, the only issue ever with his game is the putter. We know this place is easier to putt at. And this is a place where he's gained something like 13 strokes over the last few times he's played it. So I think if you just look at that aspect, that's what's bringing in the ownership. You can go crazy. If you overthink it, you might go completely off of him. But I think more people will have him in 40 to 50% of their lineups, no problem, just as a first click. I think some will even, MYG fan just put it in the chat. I think he could be right. If people don't want to go up to the top or aren't comfortable with Cam Smith, Hideki, and Leishman at those price tags, Cam Smith coming off the win at an elevated price tag, they may just say, look, I'll start with Webb Connors and go from there, or even maybe start with Connors in a balanced build. I feel like that would be the better way to go about it. Just start with Connors if you're going to do it, to at least be different, because I think most will have Webb Connors or someone Connors and then be comfortable playing enough of the value guys when we get down to that 7K range without even having to go into the 6K range. But I'll just use that to start. The other thing that worries me about him is this. The guy always, like, so I look back at it last night with Kenny Kim doing the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast over on the Mayo Media Network, and you look at the numbers. It's like 22nd, 23rd, 40th, 34th. And what it is, all those events he crushed on approach, lost with the putter. The one event that he actually crushed with the putter, I think it was the Shriners. He came 22nd and lost strokes on approach somehow for like the first time in forever. So it's like, it's not often you'll get everything to click at the same time. So when you bring that thought process in with ownership and with the fact that his price tag's elevated now to 9,600, now you have to start to think about, well, can I go to, like, what about Harris English? He looked like he was having a few brewskis last night. Georgia Dogs, go Dogs. He was out there running shit on the streets with his boys. All the golfers were in the rooms together, the Bama boys versus the Georgia guys. He could be good. I like Gooch going back to him, had a pretty good weekend. He'll still have ownership, but at least he's 500 less than Connors and could fit a different lineup construction. So just little things like that. Answer goes out early in the morning. One thing I'll recall back to the Tour Junkies, they had a great podcast with Answer's caddy. And he said, man, this guy loves waking up early and getting out on the course. And now we've got wet conditions, a pin seek fest, go out there, shoot low, go low, make some putts. Answer when he gets hot. If he can have a hot start, I like him. And so that's where I think it's worth taking the risk on a guy like Answer. And he's $100 more than Connors. And right now I'm seeing him around 12% on one site. I'm just flicking over to the other to try and see here where he's coming in at 13%. So that one seems a little bit more accurate. And I think that's kind of the one that you could go to there and get a little bit unique with. Also remember, look, like you said, I agree. DFL last week did not look good, but don't forget that. So I think this is one thing people overlook at this tournament. Last year, Kevin Na was basically the same situation and then came out and won this thing. It's not the best course for them. Last week is definitely tougher. It's a much longer course. It's a course where the greens are, like you said, way more undulating. They're way tougher to read, all these factors. So I think you could go back to a guy like Abe Answer. So Answer, Gooch are the two that stand out to me. Connors, I'm going to have some, not going to completely fade the guy. I like him. But like I say, he worries me a lot more, and getting up to 30%, that makes me, have a little bit more fear with him. Another guy I got a little fear with is going into this 8K range. So I'll start it off this time and let you hear my thoughts and then kick it back over. But Kevin Kisner seems too good to be true. Looks pretty good here. Everything lines up for him. He's going to get some ownership. Definitely. It looks like him and Henley maybe could come in with some of the ownership in here. So we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out by the end of the week. We'll, of course, have all of our cores, tiers, everything up over at Run Pure Sports. You're doing Showdown round 1, which continues to crush 2022, no different than 2021 for you. So excellent job there. I got to start playing more round 1 Showdown, by the way. I'm always stuck on my first round leader bets and stuff. I got enough action in on the week. I got that, but it's an absolute print fest. So definitely get over there for that. But a couple of the other guys. So Henley is the guy that where I'm like, look, if he's going to be just as chalky as Connors, but he's $1,100 less, maybe I just build my lineups different. I put, a guy up at the top that I like, maybe Sung J M, skip the 9K range altogether, talking roster construction, drop down to Henley, and then see what that looks like. And we did a good job pegging that last week too. We talked about at most 2 in the 6Ks, use one guy or, maybe 2 up top. And it worked out because Berger, Cantlay, Smith, all those guys that were up the top all week came from that, 9,700 and below, versus then Rahm, of course, showed up at the end. It was necessary, but still Rahm, Cantlay, Berger, Smith, Homa, Power, boom. There's your lineup. And a lot of that was within our cores and tiers over at Run Pure Sports. So just adding that again. Here's another guy, though, Snyder, I want to get your take on when we flip it back over to you. They got 3 more: Mcneely, Power, and Davis. I think Power and Davis speak for themselves. We knew that last week. Listen, me, you, Uncle T on this very show, all through swing season with Power, back to when he won at Barbasol. If you don't remember, it was him versus JT Poston. He was coming up out of the bunker, must make shot out of the bunker, holds the damn thing to put the pressure on Poston to almost miss a 5-footer that he made, extended it, and then Power won. So that was a quick win for him on the PGA Tour. He's been great everywhere else that he's always played across the world. And then last week they priced his ass at 6,600. Makes no sense in the world. Knew that was going to be a spot for him. A little bit different course setup, but I'm still going to bet on talent and that the price hasn't moved enough. It's still going to be popular. Don't care. Again, build your lineups differently. Use him, use Henley, and use him, and you still got higher owned guys in the middle a 15% owned guy at the top. And now you can start filling it up in the 7K range with some of the lower owned guys that we give you. Just giving you some more thoughts on my roster construction. But the guy I want to ask you about is Mcneely. We talked about him a lot in swing season. The guy was playing some pretty damn good golf, but you go back and look at his history, coastal courses where you need to go low. Like these are two things that line up heavily here. And he's done it on more than just a small sample size. Almost all the times he's gone out and played good golf. Look, even back to the AT&T Pro-Am, if Berger was here this week, would you play him again? Absolutely. After last week, what he did and what he's capable of, that's my thoughts. He won that AT&T Pro-Am, which is when they play at Pebble Beach, coastal track, has some wind at times. They went pretty low that year, and Mcneely was right behind him. Some of the other tournaments that he went low at too, again, 20 under type events. We're going to get that or better here that's going to be needed. So I think Mcneely's an interesting play at 8,300. I'm seeing below 10% ownership, guy that can just go low and has the ability. He's got a really good, strong game. So I think he's an off the wall play in this range. Who do you like here in this 8K range?
Yeah, I'll start off with Mav. I mean, you weren't hearing him at the start of the year last year, but that's a guy I just continuously look to a target early on in this season, and especially on that California swing. I mean, he just crushes on that California swing, and he actually branched out this year. His off the tee game improved this year. His iron play generously improved this year. So I think Mav's just an elite option in this field. Hasn't been here yet, which is kind of surprising to me, but I mean, he was great for us down the stretch last year, finished inside the top 20 in 10 of his final 13 events, made all but one cut. I mean, I think Mav 8.3. I mean, I think that's a really good price tag for him. And I mean, he's got the upside. He got finished second in that one event where it's pretty easy like this. Generally, first timers don't succeed too well here, but I'm not too worried about that with Mav here. I think he's definitely going to make my player pool, and I'll probably be two times over the field on him, I would guess. Going up to the top of this range, Kevin Kisner. He's definitely a guy I like this week. I'm gonna eat that chalk. I'm gonna go right to him. He did say he was happy he played last week, kind of knocked off the rust, as he said. I mean, he casually finished 10th, as he says he was knocking off the rust last week. This course sets up much better for kids. He's shorter off the tee. This is actually one of the few courses he's talked about saying he's confident he can win at this course. I mean, there's only a few of these out on the tour for him that he can realistically have a good chance of winning at. He talks about, since he's so short off the tee, but just great. Hits the fairways, great iron play. He just needs to putt well here. I think if he putts well, he's definitely going to be in contention come Sunday. So definitely like his course history here too. 3 top 5s in his last 6 trips here, riding some good momentum too. So I'm definitely going to be on Kiz this week. Billy Horschel, I think I'm going to fade him. He should pick up some ownership, I think. I'll be off him. His game was a mess last week outside of the 6.6 strokes he gained with his short game. Jason Kocurak struggled last week. I don't think I'm going to play him. I like playing Kocurak more when he's in that 7K range. I mean, he's a good GPP play, but I think he's just a little too priced up here for me. Russell Henley, he's going to see some ownership as well, too. I think he'll be right around that 20 to 25% mark. I'm just not a fan of him this week because I'm going to be playing Kisner and I'm going to be playing Seamus and I'm going to be playing Mav, and I think there's going to be too much ownership there, so I'm going to have to cut Henley. I think he has a good probability of finishing like somewhere in that 25 to 35 range. He's got some upside, but I'm just going to be willing to fade him. Matt Jones, he rode the hot putter last week, gained 6.3 strokes putting, added in 2.9 strokes around the green as well. So the short game really carried him last week. I'm not sure if he's going to make my player pool yet or not. I'll be considering him as the week goes on. I need to dive into him a little bit more as we head here. Talked about my guy Mav. I'm definitely going to be on him. Seamus Power, he was a guy I rode pretty hard last year. I mean, I was on him quite often. He won the Barbasol last year with a score of 21 under, shooting 67 or better in all of his 4 rounds. I think this is a great course setup for him. Huge birdie maker. He made 20 birdies and 2 eagles last week. 4th at the RSM to end 2021 last year. He even finished inside the top 20 in 10 of his last 15 starts. So I definitely like the price tag on Seamus here. Going to be overweight on Seamus. Don't mind going to Cam Davis. I mean, he's a good GPP player. Finished 10th last week. Always in play for tournaments. CH3 all-time money leader here. I mean, he's never won the event, but he's going to get talked up everywhere. I think he's just a fine option for me to fade this week. So I'm going to be over Overweight on Kisner, Power, and Mavin in this range.
Yeah, I like how if you're playing, cash games or something like that and just pivot and get different elsewhere in your tournaments if you want, because with Hal, like you said, 20 out of 20 is no joke. The conversation right now is that his caddy is now on Hoagie's bag, I believe. And you look at the fact that I just don't think that matters anymore at this point. Once you've made it 20 out of 20, that might help Hoagie, if anything, because someone that knows the lies and knows what the shots are to take. And again, the player still hits the shots though, and the caddy matters. Don't take it the wrong way. What I'm saying is I don't think Hal has any issues after 20 straight times, literally the money leader at this tournament. I just want to go back to Mav for 2 seconds. Funny thing is, he actually lines up in all of the statistical categories over the last 50 as Seamus Power. Like when you look at approach, birdies are better, DK scoring, it's where they're very similar. And then you go to par 4 scoring, you go to tee to green, bogey avoidance, greens and regulation, all the stuff that lines up for 50 rounds. Mav and him are almost the same. Look, Power is better, but the ownership is going to be quite different. So I wouldn't mind as well. As much as I love Power, I'm not going to be all in on this guy, but I'm saying I would have some pivot lineups where you're playing one or the other, almost group them out. And again, our boy Butters in the chat, I give him shit all the time. Love this guy, though. He brings in some of these tweets and stuff, and I got no problem saying what's on my mind about other people. Not to be rude to them. I just said, like, sometimes tweets and things are for bits or for content. We all do it for narratives and things. It'll be around like, oh, this guy maybe, played good at this course 2 times where it was a similar course, and it might work out that he does good here. I promise you that will not be the reason why it happens if he does do good. But I'll say this about Mcneely. Last 50 rounds, top 10 in my stat model, and that's a lot of rounds plugging in. That's all through the entire, and these are recent rounds. So when we're talking about recent form, that's all through basically the entire swing season. Then you go back to, okay, not the maybe similar type courses, or even if you want to call them maybe similar type courses. And this is just an example. It's not for Butters. It's just one thing he brought up. I think it's how other people think as well. So I'm trying to help him out, but go low courses. Mayakoba, 11th, Fortinet, 2nd, go to the 3M Open, 16th, John Deere, 18th, Rocket Mortgage, 21st, Travelers, 30th, Charles Schwab, 20th. Again, these are all go low courses that are recent. So you got all that ties together, lower ownership, at least as of right now. And then last piece, that's just the icing on the cake, RBC Heritage is not a go low course, but it's a course where you absolutely have to place it in the right spot, very tight fairways, have to place it in the right spot, have to hit the greens and have good around the green game, make some putts. He came 4th there just back in April. So, the last time they played it. So it's just a prime example of where you guys can see where people will throw stuff out there as the news. Let's get some real context and backtrack it, 10 ways or 3 ways with 10 results where we can at least talk about it for good reason. So that's my rant. Anyway, Snyder, I talk about TED Talk. Come to my Tambo Talk in the Discord every Tuesday. Always love bringing that stuff up, but just go through it. Let's go to this 7K range, though. We got Chris Kirk. We got a lot of guys. I'll start with Chris Kirk. We got him down to, Robert Strab, KH Lee, whoever you want to call the guy at the bottom. I'll say Alex Smalley because he's the guy that I like. But who are some of the guys in this 7K range that you like this week?
Yeah, I'll hit on a few of these guys. I think Brendan's still at 7.9K. He didn't finish the year well last year outside of a 2nd place at the Zozo, but he does have pretty solid course history here, back-to-back top 5s at this event. Have some interest in him for tournaments for sure. Aaron Rye ended the year strong with 3 top 20s. I'll have some interest in him in tournaments. Tom Hoagie, I was kind of going to hit on that Kiz Caddy deal a little bit with him, but he ended the year strong, 4th place at the RSM. He's made 9 of his last 10 cuts. A couple top 5s mixed in that stretch as well. Mixed bag results here for him. He's going miscut 12th, miscut 3rd. So maybe that upside that he's had here paired up with the new caddy maybe can ride him into like another top 15 finish here. So definitely I'm going to have some Tom Hoagie this week. Ches Reeves, a guy I like to play in GPPs. Struggled with the flat stick last year, lost strokes in 10 of his last 11 events. Great ball striker, though. Solid course history here. I'll mix him into some tournament builds for sure. Denny McCarthy, it sounds like he's getting pretty steamed up, it sounds like. I do feel like it's warranted, though. He did finish 2020 really solid, 3 straight top 15s to end the year. Makes his first trip to SONY here, though. I mean, Denny can get super hot with the putter, which you're going to need here, so I think he's interesting. Depends on he's one of those cheaper guys. If he gets steamed up way too much, like 20-25%, I don't mind getting off of him there. I could go to a guy right below him like Adam Long. He doesn't have that good of course history here, but he did end the year strong. Four straight top 25s, fared well at the other coastal tracks. He can make some birdies too, so I definitely have some interest in him in GPPs. Taylor Pendress, another guy we were on. He was hit or miss last year. Did get 26 at the RSM to end the year, 5th at the Bermuda, 11th at the Barbasol, so he's done pretty well on this type of environment, coastal tracks. I think he's a guy that could pop off here and make some birdies and definitely pay off that 7.2K price tag. So I like him. Alex Smalley, 7K. Don't mind going to him. He's solid off the tee. He's got some spike putting weeks too. So, I mean, he can get hot with the putter and go off. 15th at the Houston Open, 12th at the Bermuda. Don't mind him either. Just going to kind of mix and match some of these guys. I'm not going to have overweight on any of these. I mean, probably not be too overweight on many in this range. Just no real strong conviction on any of these guys. Maybe you can help change my mind there and get me more sold on some of these guys in this range.
I actually like a lot of the guys you mentioned. I'm obviously super biased when it comes to this show, though. I will say this right now, that I think this is the best free golf show there is each week. It'll go to premium when football ends. We'll be the Wednesday show. Premium to be a different Tuesday free show that we still put out there. I'll join it time to time, I'm sure. But I think one of the reasons that this show is so important, why you want to come back every week for this one, is because we talk about roster construction. We talk about ownership. We talk about everything that we can have right in front of us right here for you guys as we go through the show. And just looking at some of it, like some of the guys you mentioned, like Joel Damon, Mccarthy, those guys, they will pick up steam. But just remember, you can still play those guys. You just don't want to have the Webb, Connors, Kisner, McCarthy. Like, if that works, then awesome. But you and all your friends, or you're going to be looking at 1v1s and 2v2s where you're needing to be perfect coming down the stretch. I think the better way to do it is if you want to play some of these guys in this range, I can't fault you for playing McCarthy or Joel Damon. Those look like good plays. McCarthy, for the reasons you mentioned. Damon looked pretty good himself last week and is still pretty cheap. But then he wanted a coastal course, by the way, the Corrales Punta Cana. So, using these examples are why these guys are becoming popular. But what I'm saying is you don't want to have them with all the ownership up top, but you can always flip-flop your ownership in your lineup. Let these be your heavily owned guys. And I do this all the time, and go to some of the more one-offs up top that you're not as comfortable with, because guess what? The guys up top are all pretty damn good, and it's not going to, you can get it wrong and screw some other lineups, but get it right in these ones and have it all put together and really be different up at the top as your guys are making the charge from dudes that can actually win the tournament. Not saying the ones down here can't, they most definitely can, especially at a tournament like this, but I'm saying that's why it's not a bad idea to have some of those guys up top in that sense. So a couple other guys for me, you mentioned some of them, but one guy I want to bring up for sure, Christian Bazoodenhout, or Bazoodengoat, if you will, JSU's boy. What's he call him? Busenhauser.
He loves that guy.
Yeah, he loves that guy. I love that guy too. I think he plays some pretty good golf, just all around solid game. If he does miss greens, when he does, which he will, he's got a great around the green game. He can get hot with the putter, especially on easier greens. So I think that's a guy that you can go to here. Chris Kirk, another guy, I know RPS guy, treats us right. Hoop always likes him, just underpriced, 7,900. He can show up. I like him. Some of the guys, Siwoo Kim, Joel Damon, they're sort of the same from last week. So I think you can go back to them.
What's your thoughts on Brian Harmon? I was looking at him. He's got great course history here, but I mean, man, he's just been missing something as of late. I didn't know if you had any tidbits on him.
Yeah, no super tidbits. Obviously, what we do know about him is the idea of this is the course that's like, talk about a Kisner Jr., another Georgia Bulldog, by the way, like this guy, they're both. So you can go to that narrative, but I just think in general, guys, that this is the course they look for. Go back, even think about the match play where Kisner and Harmon have good results. It's not the same style of golfer. It's just they show up at very similar courses. Harmon can get hot with the putter. I know he made BigT a milli last year at the Players. So you gotta, think about this guy as a guy you can take a shot on. That's what I was gonna say though. I'm glad you brought up Harmon, because Keith Mitchell, Brendan Todd, Brian Harmon. And then, listen, you'll hate me for this. These are the gross ones, but Bradley, Grillo, Patton Kazire, Adam Long, these guys just won't pick up enough ownership to worry about them. They'll be 12% or less, or somewhere in that range. You can easily fit them in. There are ways to get different if you do want to be a little bit chalkier up top, and that's okay, and fit some of these guys in. And look, you're taking risks with them, but they definitely have the upside. They can make cuts very easily. And then it's just, what do they do over the weekend for you? Obviously, you're going to have those weekends where Grillo looks really hot for 2 days, makes the cut, and then disappears. You're going to have Keegan Bradley go full Keegan, where he is first round leader and then misses the cut. You're going to have the situational stuff. And someone said, West in the chat, Harmon makes you want to break stuff. Yeah, That's what I'm talking about. But that's also why you have to embrace the volatility of it, play these guys, and hope that when they boom, we talked about Cam Davis earlier. We talked about Homa last week. These are guys that, look, they're not good, especially no cut where, they don't feel as good, I should say. They're good golfers, but they don't feel as good going into your lineups because you know what the risk that's associated with them. But when they boom, usually it's like a top 10 or it's like a Cam Davis coming in 20th, but giving you top 15 in DK scoring for the week. So I like that. And then they mentioned it just now in the chat. I was going to get to the bottom there, but the two guys right at 7K for me, Alex Smalley and KH Lee. I like both of those guys. And then right above them, I don't think you mentioned him this week, Snyder. I didn't hear him, but our boy, Chad Raymie, the guy is just a cut maker. That's all he does. Has upside from there. Really good all-around game. I think you can fit him, Brandon Grace, Stewie Sink, Stewart. Some of those guys are more of the risky shots. But for me, going through it, Christian Bazoodenhout, Chris Kirk, Joel Damon, Grillo, Sink, and then Alex Smalley. Those would be like the 5 for me that stand out. I'm not going to name everybody, but the ones I gave you around them, I got no problem with them. I just won't have as much as them as what I'm talking about, those other 5 that I got. Any other thoughts on the 7K range?
No, I'm just going to be kind of looking to mix and match. I mean, some of those guys that have great course history here arrive in pretty rough form as they ended last year. So, I mean, they should come in lower owned, you would think, if people kind of look at their recent form versus event course history form. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of mix and match some of these 7K guys in with my builds. I think Alex Smalley, Adam Long, and probably I think I'm going to go right back to Brendan Steele. I like playing him last year. He paid off for me well. He's going to be one of my top 5 guys in this range. Yeah, Tom Hoagie too. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Joel Damon yet. I think he's going to catch some steam, and I think he's one of those guys. I mean, he does play well at some of these coastal courses, but last week he was pretty struggling around the greens, struggled, just lost 4 strokes total. I mean, I think he's a guy I could get off of. He's going to be 20-25% owned. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me in that range.
And yeah, final point on that. I agree with you there. Don't be afraid to go off Joel Damon if you're seeing 25% ownership tomorrow afternoon when you're building your lineups or evening, because like we just said, we named a bunch of other guys around him. He's not going to, if he's 20% owned and the dude next to him is 1%, it's not 20-1 odds. If you got a Vegas matchup 20-1 for the week based on 20% and 1%, or you want to call it 20-2% and it's 10-1 odds, you just take the other side no matter what. Who cares? So that's what I'm talking about with roster construction, is making these pivots. Do I love Keith Mitchell right at the same price? I don't love him. I know the chat does. They're Killer Keith week, everything. I'm just saying that's easy for me if the ownership's going to be that. But even if it's 20% Joel Damon to 5% Keith Mitchell or 10% Keith Mitchell, it's still like 2-1 odds. I'm still taking Mitchell in this spot. So yeah, I agree with you on all that. The one guy you mentioned who I actually love this week, and I forgot to bring up, I talked about 5 other guys, but Adam Long really shows up on some of the correlation courses, has the all-around game. The stats still show up. I'll take a shot on him. I liked him more from a betting perspective. I think you can get him like 4-1 on a 5-1 on a top 20, and then 110-1 on an outright. So I think he's an option there. Let's hop down though. Let's go to the 6K range. Go through it from top to bottom. I'll give you a couple guys that I like. Max Mcgreevy. I talked earlier about Mav McNeely, and Max Mcgreevy is the other guy that I'm going to like as well. So put the 2 names together. Very similar. That's not the narrative. I just think it's at 6,900, a guy that's cheap that most won't know about, played some Corn Ferry, things like that. You can go and see some of his stats. I think he's a good guy that would be in play. Lucas Glover, again, really bad last week. This course fits him so much better. Can only get, not going to go there with that joke, actually. I'll save that one. But Lucas Glover probably has to have a bounce back week to keep things good at home. So you got him. Hudson Swafford, I think, is fine. Our boy, Grayson Sigg, we've been on him. He's another guy like Chad Raymie and those guys that we talked about up there. Taylor Pendress, you mentioned. And then going down, there's, Hubbard, Vincent Whaley. Again, these are names that you're going to be taking a heavy risk if you are going down here. But Hubbard and Whaley are 2 I like a little bit more. And then Adam Svensson, another Canadian, thinking about my guy Cory Connors up top there. But Svensson has a new caddy this week as well. Do you know who his caddy is this week, Snyder?
No.
Tim Tucker, Bryson DeChambeau's former caddy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Probably couldn't put up with all the stuff he has to go through there with Bryson. But Adam Svensson, I just like him as a play down here as well. Who are some of the guys that you like down in the 6K range?
Yeah, I was going to hit on Max Mcgreevy as well. A Corn Ferry Tour guy, finished top 20 in his last 2 PGA starts last year. He was 11 under at the RSM, shot sub 70 in all 4 of his rounds there. So that was good to see out of him. Finished 8th in the Corn Ferry Tour Championship as well. Great ball striker. He can get hot with the flat stick too. He's kind of up and down with that. Definitely like him there at 6'9". I don't think anyone's going to be going there. It's a kind of a way we can get different, as I kind of like to jump on these Corn Ferry Tour guys before the public kind of figures them out and knows about them. I mean, they don't know about most of these guys yet. That kind of gives us an advantage down there. Hudson Swafford, 6'8", made four of his last 5 cuts in 2021. Had some solid finishes last year. 17th at the BMW, 11th at the Northern Trust, 2nd at the Palmetto. He's made his last 6 cuts here, 3 top 15s, highlighted by a 3rd in 2019. So I think Hudson makes some sense. Hank the Tank, he was great for us to start the year. Then he kind of fell off for us. Not sure yet if he's going to make the player pool, but I'm pretty sure I'll have a sprinkle of him at least. Grayson Sig, another guy was on quite a bit last year. He's usually pretty good for like a top 40 type finish. I mean, I don't think he's a guy that's going to be breaking the bank for us or anything, but I think he's should be able to make the cut here and post something like in that 30 to 40 range, which will be just fine for that 6'7" price tag if he can drop some birdies in. Mark Hubbard, another guy, 6'6", made 12 of his last 13 cuts. Really strong top 20 upside here too for this mid 16 price. So I definitely like Mark Hubbard. I was on him quite a bit last year for a cheapie. If you want a full-on punt, I mean, you could go to a guy like Brian Gay, 6.1K. I mean, this course sets up perfect for him. He's super short off the tee. This is like one of the only courses he can really compete at anymore. 15 to 17 cuts made here. I think this is a decent spot for him if you're ever going to find one. If you want a full-blown punt, fit in like to the 10K guys or something that's in that type of a bill, I don't think he's going to see much ownership down here at all.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The other guy, Corn Ferry Tour guys, at least that we talked about some of them, but Steven Jagger, he was the #1 Corn Ferry Tour player, top 25, get their card for the season. He's #1, goes overlooked, really good at these coastal courses, all throughout his career. If you go back, he was Mr. 59. I think it was, he shot a 59 the same day Jim Furyk did one time. It was pretty cool. So you've got that situation where a guy that can go low, has been good on these courses, has the stats, and talk about form. You don't finish #1 on the Corn Ferry Tour. Some people might write the Corn Ferry Tour off in their mind. That's just, for those that don't know, it's sort of the tour that filters in. Used to be the web.com. It's where all the players come from and filter into the PGA. It's extremely tough. What a grinder. They're like, to give you an example, the #1 the year before was Sung Jae Im. So if you don't know who Steven Jagger is, look it up, but it's a guy you'll definitely want to keep an eye on going forward. Has had his ups and downs in the turns that he's got to play on the tour, but man, he's looking pretty good coming in good form. And then Andrew Novak is another guy down there that I could go to. But the play for me that I like, 2 of them actually, one I like more than the other, but came in late in the week. And at 6.1K, Vaughn Taylor. Last year, this guy had some injury stuff going on. This is sort of a perfect setup for him when you're looking at courses. You want short courses. I like Vaughn Taylor. Wes said SaberSim likes it. That's another interesting tidbit. Always play the SaberSim poppers that you don't like because it's just random. It's the way it works. You have to. But the guy I actually like more, Snyder, and I'll get your thoughts on it before we give our winners and get out of here. But Ryan Armour came in late to the field with all the withdraws. And this is like a prime Ryan Armour spot. Just hit the fairway, hit the green, make the easy putts, has a solid approach game. And when he gets rolling, the confidence that he picks up, he typically has a good result over the weekend. So it's like, it's risky because it's Ryan Armour, but it's not risky because the price is $6,300. And when he makes the cut, you typically get very good upside out of him. Even if he doesn't finish in the top 15 or top 10, he can still score in that range coming in, 15th or 16th, something like that. He can still be up there. So I like Ryan Armour quite a bit down at 6,300 if you're just picking one guy. Lastly, and then I'll kick it back to you, is just the theory around the plays down there. Like, I think that's the other thing. Everybody looks for like the diamond in the rough or the gem play down here. You still got to get all the other stuff right. So I don't go too crazy, and I have no problem with you literally Xing out the entire 6K range and just playing the bottom of that 7K range where there's so many guys that we mentioned that just won't have the ownership that we talked about. If Alex Smalley is your last guy in for the week, I don't care what you hear about his name in the bubble of PGA DFS content shows that you're consuming. He's still not going to be popular enough to be, 20% or something in your lineup. So just keep that in mind when building with some of these guys down in the 7K range. Snyder, final thoughts on 6K range, final thoughts on the week, and then we can get out of here, pick our winners and get out of here for the week.
Yeah, I think this sets up really well for Ryan Armour. I mean, this is one of the spots if we were going to look to target him. I mean, this is as good of a spot of any. There's another guy I was going to hit on and ask what you thought about this kid. This is a tough name to pronounce. He is the top-ranked amateur, Kahida Nakajima. Yeah, he got 28th at the Zozo. I mean, I think he makes sense. I mean, decent price tag for him, under 7K. I mean, I'll probably have some of him. Are you going to have any of him this week?
I don't think so. No, I think it might be too cute. Look, I know about the Zozo finish and all that stuff, but someone talked about it earlier today too. Just looking at a couple things here. One, look, I'd be more like if someone asked me about Kanaya and do I know about him? He's like the guy. Everyone, if you follow golf like we do, Kanaya is a top. I think he's 50th in the world or 51st in the official world golf rankings. But a lot of it stems from the Japan tour where it's a print fest for him. He's just better than the guys on that tour anytime he's come up though. But look, he also had a good result at the Zozo. Well, the Zozo happens to be in Japan. Remember, Hideki won it in his home country after the pressure of winning the Masters and everything that had gone on in the past, and he got past that. He goes on and wins the Zozo right in Japan in front of his home country. So look, I think it's easier to play there. You know the course better, the climate, everything like that. When Kanaya, using him as the example, came up to play the the majors, as well as other tournaments on the PGA Tour, missed cuts, including this very tournament. And the way I think that calculates back to Nakajima is he's an amateur and coming over from playing that stuff to this stuff. The Zozo would make sense. But hey, if you wanted to take a shot, I wouldn't blame you, because here's the thing. It's the number one AM in the world. We're talking about guys like Joaquin Niemann. Would you have played him? Yes. And look at the talent level that you've got out of him. So two things. One, maybe I will sprinkle him in a little bit just based on that thought process. You got me thinking about it now. And then two, someone just mentioned in the chat, and I don't know how I keep forgetting it. And if I'm forgetting it or not going to him, I'm sure others won't, because I saw it mentioned today and I actually like it. 6,600, Graham McDowell. This is one with a bit more of a sample size for everybody else out there, so it won't just spit, crap at you here. But you think about this guy on coastal courses, it's been a thing for a long time. He's never going to pick up enough ownership, and he's 6,600. So Graham McDowell, I most definitely like down here in this range at just 6,600. Thoughts on him?
Yeah, that's a good poll there. He kind of slipped my mind there. He had a 12th at the Bermuda too, and a 4th at the Corrales Punta Cana. So I definitely think he's a good play here. I mean, he's right in range. At
Punta Cana, like a year, or maybe on the court. I forget what event it was at.
Yeah. He did get a win there like a couple years back, didn't he?
Before that, maybe that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
2018, 2019. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like him too.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move to our winners here. We'll get out of here pretty quick, guys. Get to it. I know there's NFL or NBA lineups and stuff to still go out and edit and things going on tonight. In the NBA, we got all that stuff over here at Run Pure Sports. But who do you got winner? And then who do you got long shot?
I'm going to go with Seamus Power is my winner, and I need to find a longer shot. Here, I'll put it back over to you, and I'll find a long shot.
Yeah, I'm really struggling up at the top. I bet Webb on the week because I got him at 17-1 before Bryson went out of the tournament. I think he stayed kind of at that number, but that's why I don't feel as bad not playing him as much in DFS. But I think Sungjae would be the guy that I would go to here. I like Sungjae Im up at the top. And then my long shot is on Twitter at a long shot, Adam Long, 110-1. I bet him this week. Like I said, he lines up at a lot of the correlation courses. The stats are there. The game is there. He's got a PGA Tour win. He can definitely get the job done. And I like him more in DFS. I like him more for top 20. But if you want to make sure you get the long shot bet in there as well, just in case. So that's my thoughts for the week. What else do you got here, Snyder? Then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mark Hubbard down here. Kind of a pump play, 130-1 though. But I mean, he showed top 20 upside quite a few times this year. Maybe he gets hot with the putter and kind of breaks through finally. I don't think that's a bad play there at 120. But for what else we got going on, we're going to be back tomorrow. Me and JJ and Mangone, we're going to have a bets type show over on the Run Pure Bets channel tomorrow at, I think, like 8:30 maybe. 9:30 Eastern, so we're going to have that going. Me and Simon are going to be here tomorrow. We're going to be doing another playoff best ball show, so make sure and tune into that as well. So we're going to have a couple of shows here for tomorrow. Looking forward to this event. I'm probably going to be more small player pool. I generally, like last year, toward the end of the year, I tended to start playing more of a small player pool, kind of like more so like how Big T approaches PGA. So I'm going to at least go through this one, probably have right around maybe 25 to 28 guys in my player pool, with 5 or 6 guys or really overweight on those guys. But yeah, looking forward to this event and the rest of the content we got coming forward to tomorrow, and then we got the NFL coming. I mean, can't wait for this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Appreciate you, man. As always, appreciate you guys out there. Thanks for sticking with us. Other than that, thank you and good luck.